Let's go back about 30 years and remember when President Bill Clinton said this.
The era of big government is over. But we cannot go back to the time when our citizens were left to fend for themselves.
Well,
and then you got Reagan.
Those were the days, right?
What would Reagan do?
Biden has decided to start printing trillions of dollars to try and fund a massive spending bill, $6 trillion in proposed spending. It appears the days of big government are back, bigger and bolder than ever before. President Biden ushering in a tax and spend borderless world that conservatives have been warning about for decades. A renewed government is the answer to all problems vision for America. And so we wanted to bring in our power panel of policy experts to talk about Biden's stress here in these areas. I want to talk about conservative activist David Bossie is the president of Citizens United and a former deputy campaign manager for the Trump campaign. And Mark Morgan is the former acting commissioner of the Customs and Border Protection. He's a visiting fellow at the Heritage Foundation as well. Welcome to the show. David, I'll start with you. It's clear the big government is back. This big, we've never seen it before. What do you think the lasting impact of this will be on our nation?
Well, in my opinion, Joe Biden wants to break this country's economy. Socialism and socialists, their goal is government control. They love having control over us with this incredibly stupid mask mandate that the American people have had to put up with now for over a year. They don't want to give up their power at any turn. So when you're talking about in the 90 days, they proposed $6 trillion. That's $2 trillion a month in additional spending. It is an incredibly irresponsible thing to do. And the only rationale is that they're doing it on purpose to break our economy, because that's what's going to happen. We are blowing past $30 trillion in debt. We are in danger of becoming Venezuela and Greece with a hiccup of inflation in the near future. We are in very dire straits. And I don't think the Biden administration is, the Biden administration is lying to the American people when they just print this money and say there's no recourse.
Now, Mark, I'll come to you on that point, because the Heritage Foundation, in many ways since Reagan, trying to warn the people, like Paul Revere writing from town to town, the redcoats are coming. Well, big government is here. Again, we've spent $5.3 trillion just on COVID between the last two administrations combined. Now, $6 trillion in proposed new spendings. What concerns you the most about what we're seeing from this administration?
Well, Joe, first of all, I want to say Dave's absolutely right. This administration is lying to the American people. Your viewers really need to pay attention to what he said. Let's talk about immigration alone. Look, they're letting their ideology and their political strategy drive their actions, which is just to throw more money and more money at the problem rather than fix the problem. They're actually incentivizing, encouraging the problem. And let me tell you just a couple of stats on immigration, on open borders, as you started off with. Look, right now in Donna, Texas, taxpayers' money funded an $800 million facility to welcome and facilitate the entry of 14 to 17-year-olds. With a $500 million contract was just awarded to house families in $300 a night hotel. He wants to give the Central American countries billions of dollars to help them while they continue to help and encourage and facilitate illegal immigration into our country. Look, I was just in McAllen, Texas the other day, and I saw, as I was on a plane coming back to D.C., I saw 14 illegal immigrant families board the plane with packages and free tickets that to a large extent, you're seeing the pictures right now, that were funded on the backs of American taxpayers. That's where we're at right now. This is absolutely big government at its worst.
David, I'll come back to you, because this possibly, we've never seen the sharper divide between the vision that conservatives have for society and what liberals have always tried to do here. You know, Mark brings up the point, you talk about this notion that you cannot have a welfare state and at the same time have an open border. It seems pretty obvious to the average person that to the extent you would want to do either one of those things, you sure as heck can't do both of them at the same time and think you can provide the prosperity and opportunity that we have made as a nation, that promise we've made to our citizens.
What the Biden administration is doing is completely based on their ideology and who controls the Biden administration. We're seeing, in my opinion, a true socialist agenda here. And how they are going to get paid back, the Biden administration, is that they're going to get swept out of power in the midterms. Everyone listening, every free-loving American has to say, this is not what we voted for. Even if you didn't vote for Donald Trump, you certainly didn't vote for this. The Senate is literally 50-50. The House, the Democrats have a 4-vote majority, the slimmest majority in over 100 years. And Joe Biden is president because of 42,000 votes in 3 states. This is a divided nation. Nowhere, no one voted for this type of socialist agenda. Not one person, even if they voted for Joe Biden, the small group of their base, the radical left, yes, certainly they did. And it should scare the rest of us that AOC, who is kind of the arbiter of the left, she is saying and giving high praise to the Biden administration in their socialist agenda. This should scare every American. And I think what it will do is, just like in 1994, when Bill Clinton overreached, just like in Obama's first midterm,
right,
he overreached. We're going to see the same thing, and this is going to shorten Joe Biden's presidency to 2 years.
Mark, now you've talked a little bit, obviously we've talked about immigration, but if you look at this 100 days, I've made the comparison that Joe Biden is walking very slowly up the aisle on a bullet train headed for the end of the world. And it seems like everything is calm only because we're focused on him and not all the policy that's being swept in behind this sleepy grandpa. What is your main concern about what you've seen in these first 100 days?
Look, it's very important. We already know that he systematically, with the stroke of a political pen, dismantled every effective tool, authority, and policy we had to manage the illegal immigration crisis. Look, the border was more secure in the Trump administration than it ever had been in history, and we were getting better every single day. He's taken all this away. And what the American people really need to understand now, when they talk about managing the illegal immigration crisis, they're not talking about stopping and preventing, Joe. That's not what they're talking about. Right. They're talking about getting more effective at reception centers on the front end and encouraging and releasing illegal aliens into our country, and then removing ICE's authority to be able to lawfully deport them, knowing that they were going to remain in our country, become part of the welfare system in our country, and then they're going to argue that they should be the next round of amnesty recipients. That's where we are right now, but they're doing it intentionally because they see a perceived political benefit from it.
Mark Morgan, David Bossie, God bless you both. Thank you for joining us.